Really excited about having Christian Dwyer come up here. He's the GM of MapQuest. I think probably most people in the room are pretty familiar with MapQuest. They go head-to-head with some pretty big competitors like Google Maps. Great story here. Lots to learn about MapQuest. Used to be the preeminent map brand on the internet for many, many years. Had some rough competition with Google when Google bundled together some of the search engines and then the mapping was local. So Christian's going to talk a little bit about that. Still part of the AOL family. I'm going to turn it over to Christian right now so we have time for questions at the end. Great, Christian. Great.
Good morning. As Matt said, thanks, Matt. I'm Christian Dwyer. I'm the general manager of MapQuest, and I'm delighted to be here with you guys this morning. As you may know, MapQuest just celebrated its 16th year online. It was built on the simple idea of helping people get directions to where they needed to go. Our core purpose has always been to take the anxiety out of getting there. We all know that feeling we have when we get lost, and that sense of relief when you arrive. We provide accurate maps and directions to millions of people every day, many of them who still print out and take those directions with them in their cars. But we all know how things have changed. As the world has become more connected and maps and directions have become more pervasive, it's no longer just about getting from A to B. Maps and directions have become the ingredients in a much different value proposition. MapQuest was dealing with the innovator's dilemma. We had a site that hadn't changed much in 15 years. We had a deeply ingrained user experience with a business model that was highly focused on revenue more than the user experience itself. We had new competitors with differentiating technologies and seemingly unlimited amounts of investment totally focused on the local space. We had fallen victim to the surety principle. That is, we were trying to perpetuate the very problem for which we were the solution. And we had lost our ability to innovate at a crucial, pivotal time in our business. So we found ourselves staring at a fork in the road. We could ride out the wave. We could continue with our business that was slowly eroding and growing more antiquated minute by minute. We could incrementalize and try to compete on new features. Or we could forge down a path unknown, be bold, and take some big risks. I can tell you, as the executive overseeing this transformation, there were times of quite a bit of uncertainty and doubt. How much change would be enough? With the switching costs so low, would our users come with us? What about the financial implications? Could we still be profitable? We leaned on our internal teams. We brought in external consultants. At the end of the day, it was really a gut decision. We wanted MapQuest to remain relevant, and to do so, we needed to acknowledge and commit to the change. And the good news was we were uniquely positioned to do so. So we started down a journey to reinvent ourselves. We're fortunate to have such a great brand. However, with a logo that hadn't changed in 15 years, just like the website, I think it'd be an understatement to say that we weren't perceived as current or fresh. But we really wanted to be bold. So what did we need to change first? In our mind, to be authentic, MapQuest identity needed to be redefined. I mean, seriously, look at this 1996 logo. Do you know that the actual font name for this logo is Cheap Hotel? How ironic is that? Think about that. For 15 years, that's what people thought of when they were coming to MapQuest. So how much change was enough? Seeing the logo on the screen right now, I can tell you it's hard to imagine that it was our logo for so long. But getting to a new brand identity isn't easy. We had powerful brand attributes like trusted, accurate, and reliable, and we didn't want to mess that up. Our goal was to make it more modern, more simple, and to actually be reflective of our vision moving forward. But our tendency at first was to not to stray too far from the current design. So we spent 6 months, multiple design firms, and reviewed hundreds of iterations to make sure we got it right. We invested both time and money. There were 40 million people who were choosing to come to MapQuest every day or every month. And we'd already seen what happens when you're out of touch with your consumers. The gaps rebranding Flounder was a mistake we didn't want to make. Ultimately, we landed on this new design. I found our employees to be both an inspiration and also what they believe to be the best representation of our character and where we wanted to go. The next step was to rebuild the website. We essentially started from scratch, rebuilding the website pixel by pixel, adding new search services, helpful trip planning capabilities, and a new user interaction model. We moved from a 5-box structured form to a single-line search box, and the web page layout from a web page layout to a web application construct where everything was above the fold. Probably the most dramatic change is that we actually removed 67% of the ads from our site. Because of our revenue focus, ads were pretty much occupying all of our white space. The reality is we showed a lot of ads that were neither relevant to the consumer or valuable to the advertiser. And the revenue trade-off, while difficult to initially justify, was ultimately the right call. We made a business decision to focus on a more relevant advertising that was more contextual and valuable to the consumer experience. Moving 40 million people from the old classic site to a new, more intuitive, simpler UI required a lot of testing. This wasn't just simply changing some map colors and actually changing settings. The risk of failure was far too great. And just when we had thought we considered everything, had written hundreds and thousands of different use cases, we made mistakes and we learned a lot. We spent a lot of time in the first half of 2011 just fixing things. Wisely, when we launched the new site, we provided a way back for our users to get to the old site. In some cases, that was necessary. We didn't actually focus on trying to build the new site for older browsers. In fact, to this day, we still get the occasional customer feedback that basically they're looking for the old site. I suppose old habits die hard. The new site looked at things from a longer-term view. Yes, there were some bumps, some traffic impacts, and even some revenue loss in the short term. Our biggest challenge was to try to cut over the ads from the old site to the new site. We had different ad formats, and basically forecasting was a bit difficult as we were transitioning consumers over. But by focusing on a better user experience, we established a much more relevant and sustainable business model moving forward. The same could be held true for our mobile products. We've been in mobile since 2004 with paid web applications that were distributed through the operators. Surprisingly, there's still a recurring revenue stream, albeit dwindling as smartphones continue to replace feature phones. A few years ago, all of our apps were outsourced. Staying true to our transformation meant dedicating a huge amount of resources to mobile. We rebuilt our apps, offering them for free, and began to cannibalize our subscription revenue. We knew mobile was going to be disruptive. We knew that much of local search was going to be done on the go. It was no longer necessary to come to MapQuest.com to get printed maps or directions to those places. We needed to provide these mobile services for free and learn how to monetize those in new ways. Last year, we launched our iPhone application with free voice-guided turn-by-turn directions to separate us from our immediate competitors. An investment was a bold step in trying to use that differentiator to create market share. And in reality, voice-guided turn-by-turn directions are just another feature. And when you're providing directions to people behind the wheel, it's also a very responsible thing to do. And that's been paying off for us. ComScore has us rated as the 16th most popular brand today on mobile. And we're now able to create scalable, location-targeted mobile advertising campaigns that are delivering measurable results and literally driving people into stores. We know that local mobile advertising is projected to boom, and that mobile share of ad dollars today is disproportionate to the amount of time that people are spending on mobile. All good indications for us that we're heading in the right direction. Finally, we took a deep dive into our environment and our culture. We wanted to change how we thought about the work that we did and how we thought generally about our business. Interesting story about our old office. I walked in every day to a stale corporate environment. It was uninspiring, and trying to talk the talk was difficult when all you could see were fluorescent lighting and paved walls, carpets, and cubes for as far as the eye could see. So we transplanted both our Denver office and our Lancaster offices to new space that felt alive, more conducive to change, and more conducive to collaboration, centrally located. In Denver, we moved to a loft in lower downtown. In Lancaster, we renovated an abandoned firehouse, both with open floor space and lots of collaborative work. We also focused on building out our relationships in the community. In Denver, each month we host the Boulder Denver New Tech Meetup, which is a very active meetup of entrepreneurs, technologists, and venture folks. From a developer perspective, we had become stagnant and written off. It was hard to compete for free, and we were again slow to change. But our efforts over the last couple of years to rebuild our APIs and, more importantly, get involved with the OpenStreetMap community has really regained credibility with the developers. And on a larger scale, we rethought about how we wanted influencers to think about us. At South by Southwest, thousands of tech companies spend literally millions of dollars trying to impact influencers. Instead of pouring money into performance artists or over-the-top corporate hard sells, we actually rented a condo. We called it the Colorado Ranch House, and we brought 4 Colorado startups with us. We invited industry folks to come in and connect with us, to hang out, to unplug from all the branded churn. The message they heard from us was clear, that we were changing. But the reality is, all the work we had done up to this point was just to get us to the starting line. We had to fix the foundation of our business. The old site had reached the end of its line. Changing our logo, redesigning our user experiences, and differentiating mobile were all steps in the right direction to transforming our business. In fact, we had named this initiative Winston, after Winston Churchill's famous quote, "This is not the end, it's not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning." The ability to determine where a place was no longer a differentiator. In fact, consumers expected you to find those places and give directions to it. Anything short was just to unfill their expectation. We certainly were good at helping people get to the places they wanted to go, but how well did we help them in making a decision about where they go? So the next big problem that we wanted to solve was to answer the question, where should I go? Over the course of the years, we've gathered billions of data points and have the collective knowledge of millions of people that we thought could help answer that question. So we started mining the data to determine what about our data was unique and what insights we could glean from it. We certainly knew what people were searching for and where they were going. And by applying algorithms to our data, we began to pull out the signals that provided the basis for understanding how to answer that question. What we really want to know is what's best, right here in the neighborhood that I am or I'm planning to go. For MapQuest users, there are often visitors in the areas in which they're searching for and where they're getting directions to. Today, the local search context is either too broad, tell me all the restaurants in Denver, or too narrow, too POI-centric, which doesn't give any context for the environment in which it operates in or its relationship to other places. We think neighborhoods are a very interesting way to organize and present local information because neighborhoods have distinct characteristics that provide better context for where to go and what to do. Neighborhoods also play an important part of the role in planning travel. Is the hotel in the right part of town? How many of us have stayed in hotels that were nowhere near where everything else was? And social and personalization also play important parts of the equation. In the real world, we rely on the connections of others who share similar interests and tastes to provide suggestions and recommendations. I'm primarily interested in what my trusted friends have to say, not my social network or not the random comments of complete strangers. The role of digital concierge with the local knowledge of where to go and what to do hasn't been solved. Just ask yourself how many times you've actually ended up in a commercial chain restaurant in an unfamiliar area instead of discovering the local treasures within that neighborhood. Recently, we introduced MapQuest Vibe as a new social local platform that combines the wisdom of crowds with engaging social features to begin helping consumers answer that question of what's best in the neighborhood. Launched on the web and as an iPhone app, and in the true spirit of social, local, and mobile, MapQuest Vibe is your shortcut to becoming a local anywhere. Because of the scale of our data, we were able to launch this in 50,000 neighborhoods across 30,000 cities, suburbs, and small towns, covering 98% of the population at launch. We connected it to MapQuest.com to allow users to search by neighborhoods and provide recommended places to go nearby your destinations. Our algorithms create or combine and take implicit votes from both MapQuest.com on where people are going and what they're searching for, with the explicit signals from user participation to create a ranked list. We think rankings are a great way to easily gain relevant context in an area. They're also inherently local. Think about that. Rankings are inherently local, and they provide a lightning rod to game mechanics. The problem we see with ratings and reviews today is that over time, everything normalizes to mean. We're often left to have to read dozens of conflicting reviews, oftentimes out of date, right, to determine where to go. And it just reinforces that decision paralysis, and I'm still left trying to figure out where to go have dinner. Think about the amount of time we spend today on city guides and review sites trying to make a decision. Easily 20 minutes. We added some new features as well to MapQuest Vibe that include voting, commenting, check-in, and sharing services across Facebook, Twitter, and Foursquare. We added the ability to follow friends and neighborhoods to find out what's new and what's happening in the neighborhood. We're moving toward a more semantical search paradigm based on the reputation of a place. Instead of searching for Mexican restaurants, I'm actually interested in finding restaurants that have tapas, sangria, and open patios. We also added cloud-like capabilities that weigh the influences of those who frequently vote and comment and share in a particular neighborhood or community. We launched MapQuest Vibe with an explicit focus on visitors to cities and neighborhoods. The site is organized in a hierarchy that allows you to drill down from city into neighborhoods into hotspots, and then from there search for categories or subcategories. You can also search for place names. For instance, I can search for Denver, then pick the lower downtown neighborhood, then choose the Larimer hotspot, and then find an Italian restaurant. The early adoption has been good, and we're definitely seeing the right type of engagement. The data isn't perfect. There's missing POIs, there's inaccurate POIs, and there's misclassifications. But as more users are participating in the product, two things are happening. The content is improving, and we're gathering interesting data that will help connect those local visitors to the local merchants and the local residents in meaningful ways. I think of MapQuest Vibe as an accelerator to local discovery, and without it, I suppose many of my business trips had ended up with me just ordering room service and cleaning out my inbox. And of course, we're going to provide all the relevant information about a place. We all know the monetization potential and the SEO value of these information-rich pages. We recently rebuilt our detailed page to better connect our user experiences together. From a local search perspective, providing rich data about a location is paramount. And from a MapQuest Vibe perspective, I want to know more about that place that has been ranked #1 for Italian restaurants in the Logo neighborhood, and what other people that I'm connected to are saying about it. Aside from that, aside from both MapQuest.com and MapQuest Live, these pages provide a third entry point into our product. What's clear is that users want more information about a place and its location. The click-through rate that we've seen off of our place pages into MapQuest Live is a strong signal that users want more context to discover what's nearby and what else is going on in that particular area. Here's another way in which we're using maps as a canvas. This weekend kicks off the National Parks Week. We know from our logs and analyzing our data that people are often getting directions, searching for and getting directions to or through national parks during the summer travel months on MapQuest. So we created a travel guide with featured content around America's national park system, with original video, with editorial content about what to do and what to see at the park, and stunning photography from the top industry photographer. Seeing this data, seeing this actually covered by across the media, including FoxNews.com, was just further validation for us that people are very receptive to seeing this content earlier in the planning process. It's just another example how MapQuest is actually becoming more of a place you go before you go someplace, higher up in the decision funnel. So where are we heading? As the web is becoming more of a place that you plan, research, and explore, we want to make MapQuest.com a place that you can plan your trips and seamlessly connect those trips to your mobile phone so you can take them with you on the go. One of our goals is to inspire users to collect, organize, and share places that they want to go and the places that they've been. We want to build more social trip planning capabilities that make it easy to create, collaborate, and to share itineraries with others. As an experiment, a couple weeks back, we added a pin it button to MapQuest.com to see if users would share their trips. In a few weeks, literally hundreds of thousands of people edited they elected to pin their maps from MapQuest over to their Pinterest boards. They shared their trips with others and started a dialogue with their followers who provided suggestions and comments. The numbers are incredibly validating for us and demonstrate people's willingness to both share and explore their trips. Imagine being able to pin other people's maps with recommendations and suggestions, and be able to search more search for trips rather than just places. We think there's some very interesting opportunities for MapQuest here. So we've been busy reinventing ourselves. MapQuest is much more than just maps and directions. Transforming your business is hard. It takes unwavering commitment, time, resources, and courage. And our transformation has been more of a journey, one that we're pursuing on a daily basis. MapQuest is already part of planning a trip. We're just at the end of the process. And we're moving beyond the utility of A to B to help people better discover and plan where to go, how to get there, and what to do along the way and at the destination. It's an exciting time for us. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to share a little bit about our story.
So we have room for just a couple of questions. So if there's any questions in the audience, the mics get passed around, you can raise your hand if you have a question. So here's my question. Internet directions. Yeah. There were a lot of other internet competitors that came out. You guys were forced to kind of decide what you were going to do with this business. Right? Some good decisions and bad decisions. On the other side, you have the Yellow Pages business. It used to be basically the place where all local businesses had to be listed, where they had to advertise in order to get any customers involved. And then the internet came around, and there was more competition, and it moved some of the dollars to a bit more. For the folks here, what are the things that you guys looked at MapQuest that you think are analogous to what we're seeing in the challenges of the competitive set with the Yellow Pages business? Is there anything that they can learn that you guys have done to make their transition easier and more successful?
Yeah, I mean, for us, when we actually thought about it, we thought that we had to change. We had to transform, and we had to commit to a transformation of our business. And so, really, it was a decision to commit and to go forward. And for us, we knew we couldn't stand still. That there was no future in actually in our old presence and in our old future. That the world was moving very fast, and we needed to follow. So we got to be part of that. But probably the biggest advice I'd give to anybody is you gotta go bold, you gotta think big, and you can't look back. It's really easy, I tell you, during the times where we were cutting through that transformation from the old site to the new site, there were many times where we wanted to retreat, that it was too big of a jump for us. Like it was scary. It felt uneasy. It felt like we were over the edge a bit. But the reality is, in looking back on it now, I tell you, we are in such a healthier business and in such a healthier place. We have a product that allows us to expand, allows us to do really interesting and creative advertising opportunities, and we've been very, very successful on the mobile front. So stay with it.
Okay, for less money to change, you're really committed to it. And people might make the argument, well, we've earned a lot of money for this too. We've got all kinds of digital products. We sell all kinds of things. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars building ILFP sites. What statistics do you look at to show that you guys have actually made the right decision?
We look at both the frequency of visits that are coming to the site. You know, how frequently, how much more engagement are we actually seeing with our users? How much more time are they spending on the site? How frequently they're coming? We're looking at basically the revenue per unique visitor that's coming through the site as well as a measure of are we actually improving. Overall, you know, we had seen our general trend on .com declining. We've also seen, since the new site's been launched, flattening of that curve and actually beginning to grow again on .com. So we're really looking at incremental measures. We're looking at things like the frequency and engagement of users.
I think this is such a fascinating story because we're looking at your core product, right, which in a lot of ways is analogous to the usage of the print yellow pages. It's declining over time. You guys made a conscious decision to kind of try and move it around. And then you put in a lot of money, right, to reinvest in the brand, to reinvest in the site, to reinvest in the consumer usage of it. And now we're at a point where it looks like that's starting to pay off. You guys have the 16th largest brand on mobile. Some big brands that have you, Facebook, Google. So you guys are going to be in the top 20 in the pretty astounding feat. And now it looks like since you actually invested in the opportunity of forward growth, it really starts to look like it's starting to pay off. And you're starting to see a lot of traffic ramp up in mobile. So 2 questions. First one, is that true, yes or no? Can you elaborate on that? The second part is, does everyone here really have an opportunity to kind of look at mobile as a new way to drive incremental business that they may not have had 2 or 3 years ago?
There's no doubt. For us, mobile has been a really important part of it. Yes, we are growing. We are actually at 14 million people that are coming to our mobile phones every month, our mobile applications and mobile web every month. What's astounding to me is that we're competing against basically, we have 24% market share in the mobile space today, and we're competing against the incumbents that are actually on the desktop or the home screen of those phones. Yet people are still coming to our applications and actually typing in MapQuest.com. From a business model perspective, we had uncorked basically how we make money on mobile starting last year. We learned that really it's very much about contextual type of advertising, that banners don't work. Search is definitely the way to go on mobile, and really, putting advertising in there that is natural to the consumer experience has been really important. So I'd say mobile is definitely a growth area for us and an area that we continue to invest in.
All right, well, please join me in thanking Christian for coming out.